State your name and where you from.
My name is Alfie, aka Alf Capone. I'm from Venice. You know, you forever gonna be a gang member. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not a gang banger though.
Where does the name Capone come from? Because I've heard a few different people say.
Well, Capone is an old mafia gangster. You know what I mean? He's an Italian named Al Capone. You know what I mean? So people equate that name with being a local, being a gangster. You know what I mean? So like that, you know, that ain't no name for no sucker to have. Like, you know what I mean? So like you got to really be about your business for somebody, you know, to call you that.
So there are many Capones from Showline.
It's me, it's Black Capone, C Capone. I'm just gonna say all the ones that I can remember because my mind ain't that good. You know what I'm saying? J Capone, D Capone, H Capone, S Capone, Ben Capone. I don't leave nobody out. My mind ain't what it used to be, but that's a few of us. You know what I mean? And then my kids got it, and later on they decided to carry my name, but ain't nothing that I wanted them to do. That's just something that they chose to do. And did it without my knowledge. It was already in it before I could say something about it. I just told them, you know, this is what you want. You make sure that you ride your coattail like you're supposed to.
You said you got shot before. How old were you?
I was 18. I was 18.
Can you tell me the story?
A couple of homies that got married. My homegirl, they got married, and we got married right here at New Bethel. And on the way from the wedding, the little homies, they had a Blazer they used to get and go do the little shit in. They ended up getting in the caravan with us. So I had a lowrider at the time, so I stopped on Crenshaw because we went on Crenshaw. And I stopped with hollering at some females, whatever. So by the time I got to the park, which was at Darby Park in Inglewood, I got to the park, and the Bloods had been there. Like I don't know that people that was going, we didn't know that's what that was, where we was going. Like, you know what I mean? So the Bloods had told her, you know, like, we gonna give y'all a chance to leave. Don't be here when we get back. See, I find all this out later on. So when I pull up, my sister like, hey man, they ain't even got no food set up in there. Can you take me to McDonald's? So I go to McDonald's on Century and Perry. We get some food and come back. So I'm standing on the parking lot, you know, me and a couple other homies smoking weed and drinking and shit. So I'm like, man, I'm finna go in and see if they ain't set up. I'm leaving. Like, you know what I mean? I ain't finna be sitting up here like this. So I was walking. I got about maybe 100 feet away when the homie stopped me. Hold up, man, I'm coming too. So at the time, I'm standing there. Little Kokia walks up. Kokia is Kiyoshi's sister. So I'm talking to her, playing with her, and a van pulls up. Now, mind you, I ain't been put up on the fact that they had been through the park and said, don't be when you get back type shit. So the van pulls up and they start opening fire. So I grabbed her and took her and threw her up under the car. You know what I mean? And me being so loaded, I turned and started talking, you know, like turned towards the van again. That's how I ended up getting shot. I got shot in the back first. And then they shot me all through the rest of my body, you know what I mean? And I fell and I lost feeling in my legs and all that shit. You know what I mean? I told her to stand in the car, don't get from up under there. They drove through the park and shot a couple of more other people. You know what I mean? The homie Fly came and picked me up and dragged me to the inside of the gym. And when I got in there, they laid me on my back and blood was just shooting up out of me. And I'm like, fuck, like, you know what I mean? And then one of the homies seen me and he fainted, so I knew I was fucked up. The way people was like, they was backing up off of me because they was like, damn, like, it was shocking. Like, you know what I mean? I was hit like 5 times, you know what I mean? So Laddie, she came and started stuffing a towel, you know, shit in my wounds to stop the bleeding and calming me down. Because I wasn't panicking. I just was like, damn, these motherfuckers got me. Like, that's all I kept saying, like, damn. You know, and it you know, that thing ran through my mind. Like, you know what I'm saying? Ain't no fun when a rabbit got the gun. Like, you know what I mean? Because I have been on the other side so many times before. But for me to be a victim this time was like, damn. Like, you know what I mean? And I flatlined and all that. Now, they didn't end taking me to Martin Luther King Hospital. You know what I mean? And what really helped me was that the fire department was right there. So the paramedics were there like that. You know what I mean? And I remember getting in the ambulance and I'm asking him, like, where are we going? Because I know there's hospitals right around there, but we on freeways and shit. And what the fuck else we going? And dude, like, man, we got to take you to Martin Luther King, bro. You fucked up. Like, we got to get you over here. They got a trauma center, this, that, and other. So they got me over there. I flatlined. They brought me back and they told my parents, like, you know, because I was in the coma for a couple of weeks. And they told them, like, y'all might as well go prepare for a funeral. Like, you know what I mean? He ain't gonna make it, but by the grace of God, I did. You know what I mean? So, and like I say, you never know how God will use you, because when that happened to me, my mom dropped to her knees and told God, if you save my baby, I'll give my life to you. And that's the exchange they made. You know what I mean? She carried her life to God and God spared me.
And can you show the bullet wounds?
And I got shot in the back.
Okay. On the other side?
Yeah. You see that black mark back there?
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah.
That's like your liver?
My liver got split in half. They had to surgically repair my liver. You know what I'm saying? I was paralyzed from the waist down for about 6, 7 months. I had to learn how to walk again and all that shit.
Yeah.
Lung got collapsed, all that shit. Like I went from 109. I just got out of jail. I went from 195 pounds to 110. I mean 112 pounds, bro. Biggest thing on me was my natural on my kneecaps. Yeah, I was fucked up, and it took. It wasn't so much as a physical aspect; it was a mental aspect that I had to fight through.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even the doctor told my mom, "Was like he got a long road ahead of him mentally," and I didn't really understand what he meant then. You know what I mean? But then I started understanding that shit. You know, to get up and look at yourself in the mirror, nothing but skin and bones. I was looking like I'm talking about like a straight Somalian or something. You can see my face is narrow. Like I said, my natural was about this big. Got a big ass natural. I was fucked up, bro. I had a shit bag on and all that. You know what I mean? Yeah, I was fucked up.
And you had to go through physical therapy, like rehab.
All that shit. Yeah. I had a bullet that was stuck in my back on one of my nerves, and it kept me from being able to walk. You know, but my feet, I'll be sitting in the bed and my feet are just moving on their own like that. They was jerked and shit like that. So dude said, as long as you got that feeling, you'll be able to walk again. Like, you know what I mean?
They never remove that bullet?
No, they couldn't. It was a 50-50 chance. If they move it, I would probably be permanently paralyzed. Like, you know what I mean? So what happened was the bullet, they was taking me to put me in they was taking me and put me in a whirlpool. Yeah. The little sauna pools, and they was doing that one day, and the bullet fell out. Because I used to be able to touch the motherfucker. I used to be playing with it, like, you know what I mean? I used to have a hole on my back, and I used to be playing with it. And the doctor called me doing it when they said, man, you better leave that motherfucker alone before you fuck around and move it and you don't move anymore. So I left it alone, and it ended up falling on my back later on.
Yeah, that's crazy. How old was that girl at the time when you threw her under the car?
Cokia, she was a kid, man. Cokia now, I don't even think Cokia 40 now, and I was 18, so Cokia, she's probably about like 10, maybe something like that. She was a little girl. Yeah, she remembers it. She remembers it. Damn. We talked about it one day, you know what I mean? And then we was talking about it one day. She just thanked me for saving her life. I was like, oh yeah, you're right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you know what I mean? I've always been a protector, bro. I'd have done that for anybody. It wasn't upset, just anybody that been there.
So if it was Darby Park, it was probably an Inglewood family then.
It was Inglewood families. They blamed on the Crenshaw Mafia. It's back and forth. You know what I mean? They knew the heat was coming. Like, you know what I mean? So, and it was so crazy because later on in life, I ended up having partners from over there. You know what I mean? I got some dudes that I got real cool with from over there, doing time and shit like that. It'll change you when you have to have somebody to survive with. Then it'll change you. You know what I mean? And some of them was aware of it, but we know we had them run-ins with them. When I was in the hospital, the detectives even came and told me, man, look, man, you need to tell your homeboys to stop doing what they're doing. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm in here. Like, I don't know what the fuck going on out there. Like, okay. You know what I mean? But, so I guess they was out there doing their stuff. But it's like, when you been in them stoops and you on the yard and it's 50 essays and it's on 10 of y'all, you know what I mean? And it's 2 Bloods and some PBG right here. We ain't got no time to be like, man, I ain't fucking with y'all. Like, it's either it's your survival tactics now. You know what I mean? And then when you doing a couple of years on these yards with these dudes, y'all find out y'all got similarities. You know what I mean? And y'all become cool with each other because you have to. You know what I mean? I ain't got no time to be a mean mug and you're tripping on you, and we got 50 other motherfuckers trying to do something to us. One of the darkest points of my life when I was sitting in jail fighting a case with somebody else. You know what I mean? And just like, damn, I might never go home again. And that really kind of fucked me up. And I remember my mom came to see me when I was in jail, and she looked at me and she said, you know, I'm scared, man, because I'm looking in your eyes. I don't even see no life in your eyes no more. Because I didn't. I'm thinking about when I get to Pelican Bay, what I'm going to do, how, you know what I mean, go on and get all my stabbings shot the way and go to the shoe, you know what I mean? So the rest of my time I can be cool, you know what I mean?
So you thought you were going to spend the rest of your life in prison at one point?
Yeah, I did. I honestly felt that way.
Off of, what was the charge you said?
Murder in 2 attempts. But I mean, you know, when you in the streets, man, like, that's what we signing for. But you know, I would never talk to tell on nobody. Yeah. You know what I mean? Even as a kid, I didn't tell on my other cousins we was doing shit. Like, you know what I mean? That's just me. Yeah. So, I mean, you know, I would never take the credit for some shit like that. Like, I mean, you know, I'm not going to say that I've been in the streets, just put it that way. I done a little bit of everything, but I'm not going to take the credit for something I didn't do. You know what I mean? But I took the time for it because that's how I was raised.
So was that time that you were in prison, was that during gentrification? It had hit Venice? Was that during that time?
It started really getting heavy because I would call and talk to my sister or call and ask for some pictures, and they would send me pictures of the houses that got bought. Like, guess what this is? You know, or guess where this is at? Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, damn. That's the hood? Like, you know what I mean? That's the fucking mansion. Yeah. Like, oh, that's such and such old house. I'm like, wow. Like, you know what I mean? Then I got out and 96 and my folks came and got me and just drove me through this motherfucker. And I was like, man, look at this shit. You know what I mean? I couldn't believe it. Big old glass houses, big old this, big old that. And I'm like, damn, that's such and such them old house. Oh, that's the vacant lot. Because it used to be lots we can run through from the vacant. You have vacant lots that went from, you can cut through the alley coming off Indiana, vacant lots on Brooks, vacant lots on Broadway, vacant lots on Westminster. You can get all the way through. All of them was gone. And I was in awe. So I was like, damn, like these folks really got the neighborhood. But we were still at that time, it was still homies out. Like, you know what I mean? And, then the feds came through.
Yeah.
And that's what really did that. When the gentrification started, then the feds came through with them 2 times, that fucked it off. Because they knew then once they got the people that they got, they was either gonna be gone forever or they was gonna be gone for long enough to where they can do what they wanted to do. And that was their plan. When you got a bunch of dudes that are leaders in the neighborhood and they going for 10, 15 years at a time, shit, now you can come and do, you can do whatever else because in their mind, the head is gone now. Yeah. Now you got a bunch of youngsters out here, and you put the gang injunction against them where they can't hang out or nothing, so you can steadily do what you want to do. That's why now, if you noticed, a lot of these homeowners, first it was us they complaining about the gang bangers. Mm-hmm. Now it's the homeless people. Like, you know what I mean? So they gonna do something to them to get them out of there next too. Yeah.
So you predict in the future that the homeless people that are on the boardwalk, on the beach, as well as on 3rd and Rose, all over Gold's Gym, you think they'll find something to do where they just move all of them out of there?
They're gonna offer them some housing where they can't resist it, and those who don't want to go get the housing, they're gonna be criminalized. This is embarrassing for Venice. Yeah. From their standpoint, this is a tourist attraction. You know what I mean? And for people, like Mike Bonner's office is right there at Westchester Park. That's a big ass homeless encampment. When the last time you been by Westchester Park? It's 1,000 tents up there. He's sitting right there. He sees that shit every day. He come out of his office and ain't done nothing about it. So people are getting on his head now. You know what I mean? Google was right here on 3rd and Rose. All behind it, in front of them, in the back of them is nothing but tents. You know what I mean? You're the richest company in the world. You got homeless people sitting outside of you. So now they're gonna be on their bumper for them to do something. Yeah. So and they have little ways they come through and trying to get people motels and do this and that and another. But now it's gonna get to the point where they're about to do something about that shit. I can see that coming.
So can you tell me the difference between gangbanging now and gangbanging back in the day?
Well, my opinion is this: we had more structure back in the day. We had meetings we went to. There was a lot of discipline went on, and people didn't get out of line. So when the feds came in, a lot of us left and did a gang of time, and was all the people that was from my age group left, and the age group up under us, there was just like a lot of the teenage homies was out here. Yeah. So they was basically trying to find their way, and it's like when the blind leads the blind, sometimes it's gonna be a bunch of mistakes. So. There is still a semblance of structure, but it's mainly, with these dudes nowadays, I think what the biggest component is that you got a lot of people from other places here now, where we were bred here, we grew up together. So my love for you is going to be different than a guy we met and, we just let him come be from the neighborhood. We put him on or whatever. That same person can then turn and get into it with one of us one day and knock one of us down and going back to wherever they came from. You know what I mean? So that's one of the biggest differences, because the love is not as strong as it was back then. Like I was saying before, it wasn't even really no homeless homies. We had a motel, you come up in there, like, you know what I mean? Go in there, lay your ass down, wash your ass, whatever you had to do. Whereas now with this flex culture is like, I want to be bigger than the next person. I want to have more money than you. I hit a lick. I want to come stun on you. You know what I mean? As the unity is kind of dissolved. Yeah. But it's crazy because whenever there's an event or something happening, everybody pops up. You know what I mean? There's people that I don't even know, like, you who? Oh, okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's cool because, like, I'm in the mind frame now since I changed my life and all that, is that it's really ain't no winning in that stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Ain't no really no winning in that gangbanging shit. It's hard for a lot of homies to let that go, because even when we first got bred into it, was like, okay, this is to death. You know what I mean? But we were still under that illusion. But those of us that were able to go do a bunch of time and see something different, like I told you before, like I done been in prisons where wasn't nobody up there but people that was my so-called enemies. But they had my back. You know what I mean? And they became, friends. Like, you know what I mean? Even some of them I kept in contact with on the street. When other homies came from different places, they had that same mentality. Like, man, I was way up north, man. It's such and such. They had my back. Like, you know what I mean? And we began to have, like, softball games. Like, we had a softball game with the 60s. Like, and that was unheard of at the time. And a lot of people was upset about that, But I was me and my cousin Tim Bone was influential in that. You know what I mean?
In prison?
No, out here on the street.
Oh, okay.
On the street, we had a softball game with them at park out there in Hawthorne, right next to El Camino College, like El Dorado Park. So, some homies, they wasn't with it at first. We had a couple of meetings with them and all that. But, I assured them that it wasn't nothing going to happen. You know what I mean? Because my cousin's from over there, and he kind of run that whole car. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? And him and my cousin Tim Bone was in prison together. And back in the day, the homies used to fight with him and all that. You know what I mean? But we outgrew that shit. You know what I mean? Only thing about this life, man, is that when you realize, those of us who've been tested through the fire, that the only thing that's come up out of this shit, life in prison or death, that's the only really big thing come up out of gangbanging. You got some little notoriety on the streets for a little while, but in the grand scheme of things, that shit don't mean nothing, though.
So you don't know any successful gangbangers?
Successful at what? You know what I mean?
Successful, like maybe made it out the streets, got their money.
I mean,
and,
yeah, I know. You know, a couple of them is very slim pickings. You can probably count that on a few hands, like you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But for the vast majority, life in prison was like the grandiose thing. Like you know what I mean. Like oh, dude, the killer. Hey, oh, the homie, he got 75 years life. Oh, you know what I mean. They'll celebrate you for a little while. Put you on a T-shirt. Your birthday come up, they might, you know what I'm saying, send you some money, something for a minute. But after five to 7 years in prison, that basically you forgot if you got life.
Yeah.
And that's the cold part about it. I still keep in touch with a lot of my partners, like Tay-Dog and all them. I still keep in touch with them. You know what I mean? Even what I'm doing good or bad, if I ain't got no money, I got a joke to tell them or something. You know what I mean? And they look forward to that type of shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But as far as just, you know, being just an outright successful, oh, I made it type, nah. The way you measure success by being a successful gang member is that you might have made it out with your family, got your house somewhere, and you just living a normal life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you ain't rich or nothing. You might have had a bunch of money at one time, but now you just working a 9 to 5. You ain't banging no more. You in the neighborhood. You know what I mean? Shit, by that aspect, I'm almost successful. You know what I mean? What's different with us now, as opposed to then, is that with the way that this society plays with the kids' minds, is that they making it cool to be a dope fiend now. Even though some homies, you know, used to get high and whatever, it was shunned. You know what I mean? It wasn't that you was celebrated. Now, from the rap music to even, you know, you got dudes get on Instagram taking a handful of perks and sipping some lean and like they own. Like that's the new thing to do, not knowing the ramifications of them drugs is very strong. That's some strong shit that these kids out there taking. And that's why I think a lot of these crimes are being committed heinously in broad daylight or just stupidly. I mean, you got people out there committing stupid murders. You go shoot up a party in broad daylight, a bunch of kids and shit like that. Like, what are you getting out of that? I travel all across the city, man. They got some dudes that they don't care nothing about nobody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Period. If you ain't from their hood, fuck you. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? And they don't care if you with your mama, your daughter, whoever. All y'all get knocked down.
Yeah.
You know?
And tell me, how do you think it became acceptable for people that are not from Venice to be a part of Showline Crip and to be a part of the hood when back in the day that wasn't something that could happen?
I think with time change and when a lot of people start doing time and getting, because you got to realize we got a lot of homies doing life with big bids, like, you know what I mean? And I think the numbers got short. And it's not just here, it's all across LA. Most dudes that you see in all these other different neighborhoods, they didn't grow up there, you know what I mean? But somehow they came around, they might have moved from somewhere and got put on, you know what I mean? So the homies just found somebody that was down, he was with the business. Okay, you know, we gonna beat you up and make you from the hood, like, you know what I mean? But that's across the whole spectrum. Like, you got dudes in fucking Kentucky claiming they from 60s. We got homies in Vegas and we got homies in different type of places that don't none of us know. Like, that's the way it turned because, like I said, at some point in time, gangbanging became fashionable to them. Like, I mean, that shit look cool. They sagging, they got money, they got jewelry on. I want to be one. Yeah. You know what I mean? And those are the people that you have to watch because when shit get tricky or would get hard, them be the first ones to fold because they only in it for that one aspect of the game. You know what I mean?
Wasn't it like that back in the day? Wouldn't you say for the flashiness and
I mean,
the look of things?
I wouldn't really say just for the fashion to look at things because you got to remember in the beginning, a lot of us didn't have no money. You got to realize, like, this beach right here was a hunting ground. Like we used to come down here, snatch purses, snatch chains, rob and shit like that. We got homies that's doing life behind that shit. You know what I mean? But there was no a bunch of money. Like I said, then when the early to mid 80s came and crack came in and people started having money. But before that, it was the structure, it was the strength that was showed. Like the homie Buster, rest in peace, they used to be in the alley on Vernon doing drills and shit. Like, you know what I mean? He was one of the originators from the neighborhood. They be doing drills, they had their trench coats on. It was just like that look of that empowerment, that look of strength. It wasn't all about just lowriders and all that because they didn't have that shit then. But they was with the business, they was beating up people, and it was structure. They were like, I would say the stars in the neighborhood. Put it that way. Okay. They were a different element than just the people that are normal everyday Joes. Yeah. You know what I mean?
When do you think that structure left gangbanging culture?
I think that structure left gangbanging culture. I would say, go back a little bit. Anytime that you start having homies start killing each other, then that's when everything changes. Then the game changes, period. Like, you know what I mean? And a lot of that started happening not just in our neighborhood, but across LA, I would say, like in the early 90s. So like the original people that was really killing each other was the LA dudes. They was, the homies was killing each other like a motherfucker out there in LA. But it never really hit us until later on. You know what I mean? So homies had some differences. And then, the bad thing about it is once you allow, or once somebody is killed by another homie and things are not taken care of properly, then it becomes like a cancer because the next person feel like he can do it. You know what I mean? Whereas we used to just go to the park and fight back in the day. You got a problem with me, I got a problem with you, we gonna go get down. And after that, we gonna go to the liquor store, get a 40-ounce, smoke some weed, and it's over with. Now it's like, it's sometimes that's the first thing come out of a person's mouth. Like, damn. And that's why I say when people not really raised with you, they don't have that same type of compassion for you. You know what I mean? It's a difference when you've been, eating out the cereal bowl with each other and playing tackle man at the football games. You 8, 9, 10 years old doing different shit as opposed to you coming around when you 17, 18 years old. Now, you know what I'm saying? I just met you, at 17, 18 years old. I don't really know you, but, you cool you down or whatever, but you don't got the same type of love that I would have for somebody I was raised with. And it takes a whole different type of person to take somebody's life that you raised with because their family and everything else.
Yeah.
That's crazy. If you like this video, subscribe to GV Loco.
Anything else you want to tell the camera?
No, man, just follow my youngster, man. He's doing this shit out here for the community, man. So y'all make sure that y'all log in with him, GV Loco, man, and pay attention to what he's doing, man. You know what I mean? That's about it. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.